The Jacksonville Jaguars have clinched the playoff berth, but they need to get greedy because that's not what they came here for. I'll tell you what's all out there for them in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcast network. And we thank you for making us your first listen, all here each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers that tune in and don't miss an episode. Glad to have you. If you don't want to miss an episode, whether you watch or listen, make sure you tap in wherever you get those podcasts, like the one you're listening to or watching today that is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Whirlwind weekend, back from vacation where I was so ecstatic about the Jaguars winning in Denver. And now we got to get back to our business. Today's show is, at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you why people just need to leave Jaguar fans alone. And I've been warning people this the whole time, just leave them be. All right. In the middle, we'll discuss playoff scenarios because there are a bunch still out there. But we're going to start right now talking about the playoffs being clinched, but not done. This is not what the Jaguars came here for. I know this is not where they always usually are. And this is not the point where Jaguar fans are used to ending up each and every season. This time we're talking about the draft, talking about free agency, talking about coaches getting fired and all of that stuff. And now the whole conversation is totally different. Tomorrow, I'm going to pull some old clips of me early in the season and last summer telling y'all that the Jaguars could go 5-1 in their division. If they did that, they would have a chance to win the division. And that the roof on this thing was 13-4. And that my floor was 11-6. I said it. And a lot of people thought I was absolutely crazy. They said, Wig, man, this is what you've been saying this forever. Okay, well, I said it this year, and it has happened. The Jaguars did what some folks thought was improbable and went out to Denver, and they beat the Broncos. And I don't think the game was as close as the 34-20 score. They dominated in each and every aspect or respect of the game. They got their playmakers out in one-on-one situations. Team defense is one thing, but tackling in the open space when you have a bunch of dudes that know how to beat those tackles, the Jaguars, they did that really, really well the other day. Trevor Lawrence has been an absolute master of Liam Cohen's offense the last 6-7 weeks. And what you've seen is the culmination and the buildup of a lot of work that was put in. And I often try to bring that up here on the podcast about the work that you don't see them doing. They don't get to come out and play like that without a bunch of things going on. And it goes into the coaching, it goes into the messaging, it goes into what they lead with, the approach, all of those things that I used to question when we were sitting there trying to figure out. Now, I really hope that a lot of people understand why. And I'm going to just backtrack just a little. I'm not going to go all the way back because we have a whole bunch of things in front of us to look for. But when folks kept talking about Press Taylor, and the reason I'm bringing this up is to really magnify all of the things that they have done, the little things that you don't see. When folks kept talking about Doug needs to just take back the play, and I was like, let me explain something to you. What is going on here is not a play calling on Sunday issue. It is not a Press Taylor issue. What is going on here and what is wrong, I said that would be like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. Do you remember me saying stuff like that? That it's like giving a Tylenol to somebody that is in absolute distress. I said, you got to go further. You got to go deeper. Because all of the little things that show up on the field are hammered over and over, day by day by day. So they seem like small things when you're watching the action, and they seem like small things when you're watching the game, but they're big things in terms of, it's almost like geometry. If you go back towards the center and you see that one little degree turn, that one little degree, just that little degree angle, if you pay attention to right where those two rays meet, it doesn't look like that big of a deal. But when you look further out and further away, they're miles and miles apart, all because of one little tiny turn and one tiny little detail. All right. So imagine in every single respect or aspect of a football team that all of those little things are just one little angle or one little step away, where something isn't emphasized enough, where there's too much emphasis on one thing and another thing isn't buttoned up enough to make people go in the direction you want them to go, or this thing to move the way you want it to move. So the entire time I was saying, y'all, it's what they lead with. No, it's nothing to do with play calling. Stop trying to minimize this and just that. It's bigger than that. And it's the dynamic of Trent and him not having anybody really to answer to on a daily basis. Doug, you're asking too much out of people that aren't either don't have the capacity to do it, or they were too stubborn, or some kind of combination of both. It's bigger than just that one little thing that gets on your nerves. It's not just like an ingrown toenail. No, you got a bigger problem. You need to go to the doctor and get an exam. This organization needed an exam, and they needed new blood top to bottom. That's how they got to this point where they clinched that playoff berth, that they believe that they're going to win every single time, that everything that you try to do to them, they seem to have an answer for. And it doesn't mean they're perfect. It does not. But it is a very fluid, continuing to move thing where they are going to continue to try to get better. And while it's in motion, they're going to keep adding little pieces, and they're going to keep asking more of people as those people develop. Like now they're going to start expecting BJ Green and Danny Strigo to play the way that they're playing. Now that you see them, now they move Trayvon inside on some downs to get their best players on the field when they actually have quote unquote better players to force them to be able to do that, or to allow them to be able to do that. And now it's an advantage. People wanted them to do it before, but they didn't have a guy to replace him on the outside, right? No, now you see the luxury of being able to do that. And it's not that they're moving Trayvon because Trayvon isn't good. It's because they want to get them all on the field. And because he is so good, they can just about move and put him anywhere. And you saw that in Denver the other day. So it's a difference between doing something because you have to or need to, or doing something because it's a luxury. And the reason why it's a luxury is because they are aligned from top to bottom. And what about that quarterback? What about Trevor Lawrence, man? I can't talk enough about the fact that he showed you through grit early on, and you saw it. Now it's pretty. It wasn't pretty early in the year, right? But you saw it. And I kept trying to harp on the fact that this was a process that we're actually watching it move in the right direction in real time. So we had to change our expectation. We had to change our mindset. It's not the dynamic things that some quarterback nicknamed the Prince or Sunshine is going to do. No, it's the small things consistently that's going to allow Trevor Lawrence to eventually start playing in a certain way where that dynamic talent just comes out and it supplements his mind, and it puts him in tune with everything that's going on. And the only way you're going to get that is with hard coaching, putting more on his plate, telling him he can handle it, convincing him, telling him to put it on his chest. And while you're going to put it on his chest, we're going to go out and get people that's going to catch the ball, because the dudes we have out there right now are struggling to catch the ball. And we've seen all of the hard coaching, all of the expectations, all of the everyone getting better and buying in, and we are seeing it work the way it's supposed to work. And the Jaguars have clinched, but this is not what they want. The Jaguars actually want all of you. They want everything in that house. It's like they're in a bank vault right now and somebody's saying, take all of it. Take all of it. And that's the mindset. And I love the fact that the fans have bought into it. I'm going to keep talking about this, pull some more meat off the bone, and then we're going to talk about playoff scenarios, because there's a bunch of them out there. We'll get to that in segment 2 here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays sure do move fast, man. In one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on the action as it unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, the receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. And y'all know the Jaguars. Y'all know exactly when that switch is hit on the good side, and y'all know what to do. And that's when you go on FanDuel and make sure you get you some money. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel is the game that moves fast, and so can you. All right, we're rolling along, moving and grooving, all of that good stuff here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. I'm Tony Wiggins. Look, here is the deal. This team has captured the imagination of the fans. The team has done it in such a manner that is very, very representative of the way a lot of people in this city are. And I'm good with it. I'm super, super good with it. It's almost as if they're not playing to the identity. It was real organic. They're just doing what they're supposed to do. And by nature, they became an underdog. They became someone that people did believe in. They became someone that folks keep giving bulletin board material. And they became a team that had to keep overcoming injuries and next man up and moving people around. And now, organically, through hard work, they're in the playoffs. The Jaguars are sitting at 11-4. Right now, they are the number 3 seed. What do they have to do to get to the number 1 seed? Well, first they got to win out. They play the Colts, who Phillip Rivers can make things very interesting, and then they play the Titans, who would like nothing better than to be a headache for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So these next 2 games are still divisional games, and it's still a chance to mature, and it's still a chance to really put an exclamation point on what has been a great, great season. Folks thought I was crazy when I said 13-4 was possible for the Jaguars. But here we are at 11-4 and looking like this ain't what we came for. They want to get greedy. They want more. The Jaguars actually believe, and are probably right, that they can beat anybody. Now, I know they got blown out by the Rams, but you know what? The Rams are considered one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win the Super Bowl. But if they played today, the game would be a lot different than it was then. And there's still more growth for this team. But that doesn't matter. Right now, the Jaguars are in the catbird seat, at least to be one of the top 3 seeds, which means they're going, well, the bottom line is by just winning. So what are the scenarios? They're going to host by virtue of being a division winner, they're going to, at the very least, host a playoff game if they can win the division. And the scenarios is, in order to win the division, if they win out, or if Houston loses 1 game in their last 2, the Jaguars win the division. Or if the Jaguars just handle their business and win out, they win the division. If they don't win the division, they could conceivably go down to the 5th or 6th seed or the 6th seed. So it would be like one scenario is just they play Houston and they flip-flop, right? And they just flip-flop whether or not Houston comes here or we go to Houston. The other scenario, I believe, is Pittsburgh's probably going to win the North. If the Chargers win the South, then that will knock Denver down to, I believe, the 5th seed, because Denver would then be a 12 win or 12 or 13 win. Well, it can't be a 13 win. Well, they could be. They could be a 13 win wild card team, just like the Jaguars could be a 12 win wild card team. So there's a lot of different scenarios, and then Buffalo's hanging around there, but you get the gist that these are the playoff teams, right? It's New England with a bye. I don't think they're going to lose. They play the Jets and the Dolphins, but they're going to get the bye. The 2 seed will be either Jacksonville if they win out, and then the Chargers say beat the Broncos in their game. Whoever loses that division, unless Denver wins out. Denver wins out, Denver still has a better record than Jacksonville. So there'll be the number 2 seed. The number 3 seed will be the winner of the AFC South. The number 4 seed will be the winner of the AFC North. And then you have the best wild card team, which is going to be somewhere between either Buffalo, Houston, Jacksonville, or Houston. So Buffalo, Houston, Jacksonville, or the Chargers, or the Broncos. Who doesn't win that division? So a lot still left to happen. The Jaguars, in order to get the number 1 seed, though, they have to win out, and Denver, as well as the Patriots, will have to lose another game. If that doesn't happen, but they still want the number 2 seed, then the Jaguars have to win out and then have the Chargers beat the Broncos. And if that happens, the Jaguars get to number 2, and then they'll host the 7th seed. If they're at number 3, they'll host the 6th seed. If by some reason they don't win the division and they're the 5th, 6th, or 7th seed, then they'll play one of those other teams. But either way, the Jaguars ain't going to face nobody in the first round that they can't beat. In fact, I think the Jaguars can literally beat anybody in the AFC. And they can do it on the road as well as do it at home. It does not matter. That's just how good they are, and that's just how they're built. But for your playoff enjoyment, we hope that they handle their business. And then there's another scenario that I brought up a little while back, that even if they don't get the number 1 seed, if they win that first week, and then as the number 2 or the number 3, they're not going to be the 4th seed. So the only way that they'll end up having to play New England in the first round is if somehow they're the lowest ranked seed after the first week, and that means that if they don't win the division, and then there's some whoever the 2 or the 3 is at that time win their first round playoff game, and then the Jaguars win theirs, then they're the lower seed, and then 2 will play 3, and then the lowest seed will be Jacksonville, who will be 5, 6, or 7, and then they'll go play New England, which is a game that they could win. I'm trying to get them to have games at home. Not because I think they need the advantage, but because I just want it for the fans. That's who I want it for. I want the fans to be able to experience this, and I want people to actually come here and have to reap what they sow when they talk so much about the city and about the fans and about the support and all of these things. So lots of playoff scenarios, lots of things that can happen. The one thing that I'm really, really happy about is that it doesn't seem like that this is like they're not sitting there going, yeah, we've arrived. They're absolutely not. I think they don't know how good they can be. They got an idea. I think they believe that they can be as good as they have to be. I believe that they think they're ascending and getting better. I think this team is dangerous. They are dangerous because they are no longer wishing and hoping, dog. They walk in knowing that they can smack you and take your lunch money. And I love every single minute of it. With lots of scenarios, it does not matter whether from just the game standpoint. I know it matters to the fans from, just an enjoyment standpoint, but I don't think the Jaguars have to get home field advantage or even have home games in order to be a threat in the playoffs. I do believe that they having those home playoff games would really, really do something short and long term to ignite the fans, to ignite and let the NFL know. They ain't going to pay attention to it anyway, though, because most people just want to be right. And when they realize they're wrong, they don't want to admit that they're right about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And those are the folks that I'm going to talk to in segment 3. I told y'all to leave these people alone. I battle Jaguar fans every day. They are formidable opponents, and they probably feel the same about me. But see, I'm one of them. I'm a Duvalian, so I can handle it. I can deal with it. And when I don't deal with it very well, I dish it out. And it's sometimes a love-hate relationship. If you're not from here and you don't get it, you don't have that option. You ain't one of us. Leave them alone, and I'll tell you why in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Car Gurus. Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on your cars you want. Because when it comes to big picture purchases, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else so you can shop the way you want. Having verified dealerships and upfront pricing makes the whole thing feel transparent and stress-free. I normally don't like buying cars at dealerships because I'm not a negotiator. I don't want to negotiate. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to pay for it, and that's it. If you don't take it, I go home and stay where I was. But Car Gurus makes that process entirely easy. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. All right, third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. Thank y'all for being patient with me while I was off in Aruba, having a great time with my wife, celebrating 19 years of the day we met, and I appreciate it. It was like the biggest game of the year, and I couldn't celebrate with y'all, but everybody was very, very gracious. Shout out to me, O'Brien, and Marquise Ogden for holding it down on the Jaguar Squad show for me when I'm normally a guest on that show, and I look forward to it, especially after the game. And we didn't even do a post-game show. I couldn't because I had some sketchy service. So we're getting back to it today. I didn't want to jump in and tell y'all a whole bunch of stuff that you already knew about because, you already know. But I wish people would listen to me when I talk about bothering with Jaguar fans. And this is the people this ain't to the people that made a comment here or there, or folks that support their team, whether it's Denver or Houston or whoever, or the Colts or whoever. This is to the obnoxious folks, and and I'm talking to media members too. This is the people that, in the process of your disbelief about who the Jaguars are or whatever, there's always this little shade, right? And the one thing we know well is shade. I heard, I think it was a comedian, was it Bruce, or it may have been Lavelle Crawford, that says they're overweight comedians, and they say, you know what? People think they can hurt my feelings by calling me overweight. I've heard every joke you can tell. And the funniest people on earth are the people that got picked at a lot. Trust me, I got picked at when I moved to D.C. as a kid, and those folks didn't know me, and they thought I was some country bumpkin. I got picked at a lot, and it makes your skin tough. But it still doesn't mean we're going to take mess from people that just talk smack. And the problem is usually other members of the media say and do things and then throw in a little shade about Jaguar fans and then want to throw stones and hide their hands when Jaguar fans come from them and start blocking them on Twitter. They're going to learn. Oh, I know them very well. I deal with Jaguar fans each and every day. And everybody don't like me. Everybody doesn't listen to Locked On Jaguars. Some people listen to other podcasts, and that's cool. I don't have ops. I don't, because it's me versus me. The same mantra that I tell the Jaguars every day to have, that's the one I have when I sit here and I do these podcasts and I do this content. I don't look to what nobody else does. I don't sit here and try to say I'm going to outwork the next man. I don't know how hard they're working, and nor do I care. The thing is Jaguars fans hear everything. And when you're a member of the media and you come out and you want to take a swing at Jacksonville Jaguar fans, you better be ready what's coming with it. And what's coming with it is you can't take a swipe at our city and our culture based on what a football team does. And see, Sean Payton learned that too. And now you hear him saying, I was trying to compliment. All you got to do is to compliment the Jacksonville Jaguars is compliment the Jacksonville Jaguars. You ain't got to say nothing about a market being small. You ain't got to say, and then you want to say, well, it's because people don't know. Oh, they know now, don't they? When they saw you get that lump upside your head. And plus, we don't need you to help us. We don't, nobody need all of that. Well, I was just trying to say, no, don't try to say anything. Talk about your team. Talk about what you need to do. There are 32 teams in the National Football League. And to say that people around the National Football League, well, nobody really knows what Jacksonville. See, that's the slight right there. That's the slight. Nobody really knows. You can tell me that nobody really knows anything about the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they were doing. But over the last 2 years, all I ever heard was a whole bunch of people from around the country thinking that they knew what was going on here. Trevor Lawrence this, Trevor Lawrence that, Trevor Lawrence this, Trevor Lawrence that, the fans this, the fans that, the fans get on my nerves, the fans. For some people, for people to sit and say that people don't know what's going on in Jacksonville, it's been a whole bunch of Jacksonville and a whole bunch of people's mouths for the last 2 years saying a bunch of negative stuff. So I ain't going to buy that you can selectively sit here and act like, oh, well, nobody really knows what's going on there. And I was just trying to make an aware. You ain't got to make nobody aware of Jacksonville because people can't keep Jacksonville's name out of their mouth when they got something smart to say. That's Shady McCoy. That's Acho. That's Richard Sherman. That's a whole bunch of other people. I think Phil Simms, and even if you didn't, I'm throwing you in there today too, just because I want to. The bottom line is you can't sit there and talk about people all the time and then expect to be able to dictate how they respond. I don't care if you think you're saying something nice in a slick way. You know what you're doing? You're saying something nice about something negative that somebody has said about Jacksonville in the first place. And this is where you're going to learn if you ain't learned. Even when we lose, we troll. Even when we lose, we have a way of making you think you ain't won nothing. So when we see y'all trying to do it to us, it's just funny. It's just super, super funny. And I know people say, man, they win and they don't know how to act. They win and they don't know how to do this and they win. No, 9 times out of 10, if you think people from Jacksonville don't know how to act, we ain't got nothing to do with winning. You just gonna think we don't know how to act. Period. Here's a clue. Talk about the game. Talk about football. Talk about X's and O's. But the second you say anything about the people in this city or the way we are or who we are, and it's not complimentary, and be careful about that because sometimes you can be complimenting people with a little shade behind it. If you ain't careful, you're going to get this work. And what makes it bad now is the team is actually good and they're actually winning. So that work now, that work has wings and that work has skin like razor blades. And if you touch it, you're going to get cut. And then I don't want you sitting there crying and pouting and complaining and talking about how insufferable people are. I told you Jaguar fans can be insufferable, especially if you're lame. Now, take that and deal with it. They got 2 more games, and they ain't done yet. The Jaguars are coming for everything y'all got. They're in the vault. They have everything surrounded. They have an escape route, and the leader says, take it all. Take it all. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Make sure y'all tap in each and every day here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team each and every day. And if you listen to each and every episode, man, I appreciate you and thank you. Now what you can do is you need a last minute holiday gift for someone who loves this station. Make it easy. Ask for the Everyday Club, ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through the link that is in the bottom of the show description. All right. Make sure y'all tap in. Y'all get this nice Jaguars merch, this Locked On merch too, like the shirt I'm wearing, if you can see it here. All right, man. Y'all take care. Good to be back. We'll continue to break down the game this week with the Colts. Of course, Locked On Colts and I will do another crossover this week, see what they talking about up there since they got eliminated. But until then, man, y'all take care. Keep trolling. We'll see you later here. All day, all week on Locked On Jaguars.